Welcome to Artificial Insights, where we interview product leaders and thinkers in AI about what it means to do AI right.
I'm your host, Daniel Maneri. I made this podcast because I want to be the person at the city gate to talk to every person coming in and out, doing great things with AI, and find out what and why. Then, share the learnings with everyone else. We've reached the end of Season 4. Looking back across the conversations this season, from robotics experts to product leaders to AI experimenters, a consistent pattern shows up. Many AI conversations focus on replacement. Will it replace the writer? Will it replace the support agent? But what we heard this season was different. The people we heard from aren't trying to do the same work slightly cheaper. They're using AI to reach outcomes that were previously impractical, too complex, or simply out of reach for human teams to manage. This episode revisits a few moments from Season 4 that show that shift clearly. Solving the context problem. Let's start with organizational knowledge. If you run a company, you can't attend every meeting or read every meeting transcript. You can't reliably remember what was said in a one-on-one 3 months ago and connect it to a client issue today. It's a human limitation. In Episode 1, Aidan Mirzai from Fellow talked about using AI to close that gap. He described building what they think of as an AI chief of staff, a system that can surface patterns and context no individual could hold in their head.
We think of Fellow as this AI chief of staff. What it does is allows you to tap into insights across your company. And one of the things that we like to say is that there's more context and more data in your meetings than any other data source within your company. So it allows you to do things like search across all of your meetings and basically ask all sorts of questions. So you might be able to say something like, what are all the bottlenecks in my engineering team? And of the last 30 customer calls, what were the top 3 objections that customers brought up? Or I've been doing one-on-ones with this employee for the past year. Can you write me a performance review based on all the feedback I gave them during these one-on-one sessions, right? So again, it's like this AI chief of staff. I think every organization in the world should have an AI chief of staff, and that's what we're trying to build with Fellow.
What changes is what's accessible. Management stops relying on memory and anecdotes and starts working from accumulated context. We saw the same pattern show up in healthcare. In Episode 11, David Proulx from HoloMD talked about supporting psychiatrists between patient visits. His goal wasn't to replace clinical judgment. It was to give doctors visibility they never had before.
Imagine if you had a loved one who has psychiatric issues. You would dream of having your psychiatrist texting that patient every day to know how they are feeling, how they are doing. That's what we do. So the agent does that for the doctor, exchange with the patient, and long-term memory in AI is still an issue for some. We cracked that nut a year and a half ago. The agent understands the past of the patient, can refer to it like a friend. And we also, in the evening, we check if the patient took their medication. And then during the night, I take the transcript and I will give a mental health score. So how are they doing? And also a medication, if they took their meds or not, and if they didn't, why? And then when the psychiatrists see their patient, a week, a month, 2 months, 3 months, since the last visit, instead of applying their professional judgment on how the patient looked on that day, they have a beautiful graph with the mood score. And if they see that, there's been a drop for 2 weeks, the doctor can interrogate the system. Why was there a drop for 2 weeks? Oh, the patient's dog died. Okay, I understand what happened.
Without AI, that information would disappear between appointments. With AI, care decisions can be grounded in the patient's lived reality rather than their recollection during an appointment. AI is mediating context too large for humans to hold in their head all at once, compressing long work into short windows. Context is one side of the shift. Speed and scale are the other. In Episode 5, Josh Mueller from Waha described a problem his nonprofit ran into while translating biblical content. Audio editing became the bottleneck. Aligning text with audio timestamps across thousands of files took months of volunteer effort. Rather than trying to optimize that process, Josh looked for a way around it.
Back in the day, our curriculum took about 6 months just of audio editing to be able to ship, let alone all the extra stuff like translation and recording and everything else that happened. And I kind of just had this realization one day that if we could figure out where verses start and end, we could actually basically automatically do all that editing. We could use, there's this tool called FFmpeg. We could write these crazy FFmpeg scripts that would stitch everything together at once. I threw together a prototype of it, manually setting those timestamps myself. And then we tried it out, and basically in 10 minutes of compute time was able to do something that would have otherwise taken about a month of audio editing. And then we learned about this technique within AI that basically you can give a text and an audio to a model and it will spit out those timestamps. And so that was the last piece we needed to like automate that process as much as possible. And now literally like that 6 months happens in about 16 minutes of compute time on my server. And so, yeah, it meant that we didn't need volunteers to do that work for 6 months. And now that's 6 months extra of a disciple maker's life that they can go and actually make disciples.
6 months to 16 minutes doesn't just make the work faster. It changes which projects are feasible at all. Entire categories of effort stop being constrained by human time. From information to action. Most software works with information and provides information. It analyzes and processes, but it leaves the decisions and the actions to a human. That boundary is starting to move. In episode 9, Alex Meyer from On Water described what he calls AI native systems. The shift is from providing information to acting, coordinating, and following through.
Essentially, we're creating this world of convenience, for better or for worse, but essentially you're meeting everyone where they're at. So before, we had to try and figure out and triangulate where they were at, right? We'd ask the question, why did you download this app today? They'd say, I want to monitor fishing condition. I want to find paddling routes to go paddle. I want to track my paddling adventures. I want to track the fish that I catch. I want to have the system tell me how long my fish are. Okay, cool. We send you down this path and then we hope that you discover the other things. Whereas now you can come in and you can literally ask the products the question and say, where should I fish today? And we'll give you that answer. You can ask the questions like, should I go, are the conditions right to go fish this river today? Yes or no? And it's going to give you that output and help you make it actionable.
The important change here is not convenience, it's agency. Software is no longer just informing our decisions, it's providing direction and the tools to act on it. And AI is moving actions from the digital world to the physical world too. A human is no longer the only bridge from software to the real world. In episode 3, Adil Zaman talked about embodied AI in construction. These systems reason about what's happening on site and explain those decisions to the operator in real time.
That's the other kind of insight that we've added is we let the foundation model reason real time. So when the excavator is excavating, there's a touchscreen inside it. You can actually it just talks to you. It's like, hey, I'm deciding to go left because I think I need to pick this rock up first and move it here before I can go do this next step. And you can talk back.
Right, so you're inside this giant machine and it's being controlled by an AI with a touchscreen in front of you. And it's telling you like, I'm going to move this giant arm and bucket to pick up this thing over here and do stuff with it.
Exactly. And
Wow.
I really believe that this may be the future paradigm of robotics as opposed to the one that I've seen. That's what kind of inspired me. So I just don't believe in this concept that's some robot's going to get trained to a great accuracy and get sold to us. And then it just like works out of the box. That's actually not how employees work. Like if you hire an excavator operator, you talk to them all the time and you work with them to, solve specific projects, but also to improve their learning on how to solve like next projects that you may get in the future. So one of my kind of views is that our product is fully voice AI first, right? And you can talk to it all the time. You can talk to it when it's not working. You can be like, hey, next time you should try this and this, and also when it is working. And when it is working, you just kind of talk to you say, hey, actually, I don't think you should move this rock first. You should go there first, and it'll stop and it'll go, okay, I should have probably done this maneuver first.
That feedback loop matters. When software can sense, decide, act, and communicate in the physical world, humans stop being the sole translators between digital plans and real-world outcomes. That's a meaningful shift because it changes what kinds of systems we can responsibly build and trust, lowering the barrier to creation. As we wrap up Season 4, I want to leave you with a thought from Ahmed Iqbal in Episode 7.
I'll take my 5-year-old son as an example, right? He's starting to get into drawing and things, but he doesn't have the fine motor skills to actually get out exactly what he's thinking. Like he's trying to draw like Leonardo the Ninja Turtle, but it doesn't look anything like Leonardo the Ninja Turtle, right? Because he just doesn't have the fine motor skills. And even when he's trying to describe something, he may not have the vocabulary to tell the story that he's trying to tell. So a lot of ums and ahs, and the way that the story is structured also kind of doesn't make sense in what he's talking about. But imagine that there could be some kind of an AI layer in this kind of creative tool where regardless of your fine motor skills or regardless of your vocabulary, you're still able to get that story, that video, that short movie that you're trying to make and have it be exactly what you were thinking, right? So that I think is like really magical. And that's what I think AI is going to enable and how we at Canva are thinking about the future of AI.
We're moving towards a world where the barrier to creation, competence, and capacity is being lowered, allowing anyone to bring their imagination to life. Across very different domains, the same thing keeps happening. AI removes friction around time, memory, coordination, and execution. When those barriers drop, more people can participate and more ideas become viable. Season 4 showed me that the most interesting AI work isn't about replacing people. It's about expanding what people and organizations can realistically take on. Thank you for listening to Season 4 of Artificial Insights. If you know someone making the impossible possible with AI, connect them with me on LinkedIn or shoot me an email. That's Daniel@manary.house. MANARY.HAUS. Let's keep standing at the city gate and watching what comes next. Thanks for listening.